What is up, guys? Carolina Jackpot time coming at you on Sunday evening. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Hope you enjoyed some college football this weekend. The last meaningful weekend, really, of college football until we get to the playoffs here in a couple of weeks. Wanted to just touch on the way it fell out, the way it transpired, and my thoughts on a couple of things there. First of all, last night's games, I was very surprised. I'm not going to say I was shocked because it wasn't shocking. I mean, they were ranked number 2. I was very surprised to see Ohio State go down. I did pick Indiana to cover the spread. I had it at 5.5, and I thought this game would be really, really tight, but I figured Ohio State would find a way to win the ball game. They didn't. You got to credit Indiana there. I want to touch on them more in just a minute, but there was no scoring in that game after the midway point of the third quarter. I mean, defensively, Indiana just stepped up in an absolutely major way. Wouldn't let Ohio State get anything when they got to the red zone. Julian Sayin finished with well over 200 yards passing, which was much more than what Mendoza had. But, credit Indiana. They made the plays when they had to. And they are now the number 1 ranked team in the college football playoffs as it stands right now. The way things shook out today in the polls, they're number 1. Ohio State only fell 1 spot to number 2. So that loss really didn't hurt Ohio State. And I know that Ryan Day and that bunch really wanted to win a Big Ten title. So they've accomplished almost all their goals this year. They beat Michigan, which I think was a bigger goal for them than winning the Big Ten title, honestly. Just from conversations that I've had with Ohio State people, that is what meant the most. And they got that done. They just kicked the crap out of Michigan last weekend. Couldn't get it done last night in Lucas Oil, but congratulations to Indiana and Kurt Signetti for stepping up last night and taking down a team that was maybe thought to be just about unbeatable with one of the best defenses that we've ever seen in college football. SEC championship game, not even close. I mean, the way Georgia just dominates Alabama there pretty much from start to finish. They'll finish they're seeded number 3. I thought that they may seed them number 2. But with 2 losses, I guess they really couldn't do that. And then Texas Tech, of course, just in the second half, just way too much for BYU. They dominate them there in that ball game, and they are the top team in the Big 12 and will go to the college football playoff and get a first-round bye as well. Of course, we saw 2 group of 5 teams get into this one, which is really unprecedented, but that's only because Duke upset Virginia last night in the ACC championship game, which I went ahead and picked Virginia in that game just because I thought they were kind of a team of destiny and they would find a way to win that ball game. But when I saw, once again, it never fails, guys. It never fails. It's just a strategy I've looked at, and I just keep never using it. Almost all of your public money last night was on the Wahoos. What happens? Duke beats them 27-20 in overtime. So that, them being the ACC champion, Virginia would have been in the playoffs had they won it. They didn't. Therefore, James Madison gets in as the Sun Belt champion. And then we had Tulane get in because Tulane was the highest rated group of 5 team. But James Madison was a higher-ranked conference champion than what Duke was. So they got in as well. A lot of people upset about this. And I've seen it all over social media this afternoon. There's a little bit of an outcry there that neither of these teams should be there. They're not going to win anything. Well, one of them was guaranteed a spot anyway. And, blame the ACC for just for the scheduling model. Miami, obviously, the best team in the ACC, even though they lost 2 games to some kind of mediocre, a little bit above mediocre ACC competition in Louisville and SMU. I've never seen a group of people, that being college football fans, complain and bitch so much about the way things get seeded out and what the fallout of a way that things are structured that everybody supposedly understood. I mean, that could happen. It was talked about last week that this could actually happen, and lo and behold, it did. So that is what it is. Then you see Miami gets into the playoffs. They're seated at number 10. You know, they jumped Notre Dame. Notre Dame was ranked higher than them. Like all throughout this process, they had Notre Dame rated higher than Miami. So I don't really understand the flip-flop deal. I'm assuming, obviously, they just went off of the head-to-head, which does have to matter. There's a lot of people in that camp of the head-to-head is what should matter when you have two teams who have the exact same record and they both have similar metrics. I get that. I get those people who have that argument. You look at the body of work, though. Notre Dame's 2 losses were to A, a playoff team in Texas A&M, and then B, a playoff team in Miami. So what do you do there? And Miami's 2 losses were to, once again, Louisville and SMU. What were they, 8-win teams? You know, not terrible teams. I mean, they didn't drop any games to any turd burgers like one Alabama Crimson Tide did, but their losses weren't to teams that were as good as Notre Dame's. But Notre Dame lost to Miami. So, I mean, there you go. The head-to-head does have to matter here, but the people who were arguing for this, just make sure that you're arguing for it for the right reasons, because it's what's fair in the world, in the realm of college football. Because if it were your team, you would want them to be treated that way as well. Don't just be arguing for it because it's Notre Dame and you don't like Notre Dame because they won't join a conference and blah, 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 blah. I don't care either way. I'm not a Notre Dame hater. I'm not a Notre Dame fan. It doesn't matter to me, but, you know, for God's sake, I mean, it's kind of a silly reason to not like a team. Just, I mean, Jesus. I mean, let's just get real. But they don't get in. However, another team gets in, seated at number 9, the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think they deserve to get in. If we were picking playoff teams in week 8, then, yeah, obviously they needed to be in. They'd probably be like the number 2 or 3 overall seed then, but we're not. I don't know what happened. They reeled off a string of 4 straight victories over ranked teams. Right? What was it? It was Vanderbilt, Mizzou. Help me here. It was Vandy, Mizzou. I'm drawing a blank right now. They beat 4 ranked teams in a row. I'm sorry, I can't remember right now off the top of my head who they were. There's been so much ball played. I'll remember here in a minute while I'm talking about this. But they really faltered down the stretch a little bit. Had some injuries. They didn't look after the South Carolina game. In that game, which they struggled, they had to come from behind, win 29-22. They did not look anywhere near the same team after that point that they did the first half of the year. And they got the big win over Georgia, and what was that, like week 4, 24-21? There you go. I mean, that's what got them in the playoffs there at 10-3. And they always say they're not going to punish a team for making it to a conference championship game and losing. But, I mean, I fully think that you could punish a team for making it to a conference championship game and losing it badly. Their performance in the conference championship game could dictate them being left out, but in this case, it did not. They're in. Name on that jersey means a lot. Name on that jersey means a lot. A lot of people think BYU got screwed. Well, BYU had 2 bad losses to Texas Tech. They were non-competitive in those games. I mean, I don't know. I mean, BYU is very fringe to me. If it were a 16-team playoff, I would think they deserve to be in. Vanderbilt. A lot of people think Vanderbilt got screwed. I mean, I think Vanderbilt got screwed too, but you also got to think one of their losses was to Alabama. You know, had they beaten Alabama and then that loss been potentially against somebody else, you know, let's say they lost the game to Mizzou, but they had beaten Bama. I mean, they might have gotten in. So, I mean, it's who you lose to, not always necessarily how many you lose. They did everything right this year, except for, you know, just a couple of minutes and a couple of games there. So you got to kind of feel for Vanderbilt, and that story is going to have kind of a, you know, I think it'll have a good ending because they're playing Iowa in a bowl game, and I think they'll beat Iowa. I don't think there's any way Diego Pavia opts out of a bowl game. I mean, he may. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say anything is possible in college football. You guys know that, but he does not seem to be the opting out type to me. He can put on a set of pads and go out and play football. I think he's going to put on a set of pads and go out and play football. Now, talking about Indiana, you watched them last night. Everybody wonders, you know, how did Indiana get so good? Look, I mean, I was watching that. They play Ohio State's in the red zone. Had the ball, it's like 3rd and I want to say 5. Julian Sayin rolls right. Here comes Indiana, white boy safety, or white boy linebacker. I'm not sure exactly what position he was. White boy. And we always say that too. I ain't trying to be racist when I say it was white boy or whatever, but I mean, it's just odd to see sometimes white guys playing the more skill type positions like that and see them playing it at a high level. It seems like the white dude, the athletic white dude, has made kind of a comeback in college football the last few years. He comes from the opposite side of the field, and Julian Sayin's got a decent set of wheels. This kid tracks him down, trips him up by like one shoelace for a sack. That was effort, motor, and guts that it took to sack Julian Sayin like that. You don't see that from 98% of the football teams out there. You don't see somebody just absolutely laying it on the line like that kid did. Nobody on South Carolina was making a play like that. Did South Carolina have athletes who had wheels that could have made plays like that? Yes. But did we see it from them? No, we didn't. What do I attribute that to? That's the coaching. That's the motivational part. Was that Kurt Cignetti? I don't know. Was it one of his assistants? I don't know. Somebody's motivating those defensive players on that Indiana team to absolutely ball the hell out and play above their ceiling. That's good coaching. That's good motivation. You don't see that on every team, which is why you don't see every team going 12-0. I just thought that was absolutely phenomenal. But things went about like I expected them to go today. After the games played last night, I kind of went over a little bracket in my head and thought this is probably the way that it's going to play out. And it played out about like I thought it would. So congratulations to all those teams who made it in the playoffs. Congratulations also, I was looking at the bowl game schedule, to Mississippi State, who gets as a losing record, 5-7, gets a government cheese handout to participate in the Duke's Mayo Bowl with a losing record. You know, I mean, I thought you're supposed to have a winning record to play in bowl games. You know, obviously, you have some teams there that opted out of bowl games. Number one, I haven't seen all of this yet on social media as unfolded as I was doing some stuff this afternoon, but I do know Notre Dame opted out of a bowl game. So there's one spot there. They're not going to play. Now that is something there that could kind of teeter me against Notre Dame a little bit. Okay, I get that. That's horse shit. That is just some high level horse shit, in my opinion. We're not going to play. That almost is as childish as the 2023 Florida State garbage. where everybody decided we're just going to quit and not play in our bowl game, but we're actually going to go out there and suit up for it when they got their doors blown off by Georgia. And this bunch just opts out of the bowl game, I guess because they're big mad. They didn't make it in the playoffs. Go out there and play a bowl game and then kick the crap out of whoever you're playing to show everybody you should have been in the playoffs, or whatever your motivation is. Just go out there and win the game. That is asinine to me. I don't understand college football players who don't want to play college football. It just, you only have so many of them you get to suit up for. You only have so many. Maybe you don't want to. That's the thing, though, guys. That's the thing. That's the damage that the bag and NIL has done to this game. It's enabled this kind of garbage. So, I'm going to get paid regardless. So it doesn't matter if I go out there and play a bowl game against Missouri or whoever the hell. We're not going to play it. So there's that. Clemson Taters. They get in the bowl game. With their 7-5 record, they're going to take on Penn State in the Pinstripe Bowl on December the 27th, I believe it is. I'm telling you what, right now, if Terry Smith, and his name Terry Smith, Penn State's interim coach, can get Nicholas Singleton, Katron Allen to play in that game and get the important pieces to play in that ball game, which I think he can. I think he's a good motivator. They did pretty well under him down the stretch after Franklin was let go, which I didn't agree with, by the way. I'm one of the ones in the camp of they did the wrong thing by letting James Franklin go. It just was ridiculous. I know we got one that calls into our show a lot, Mr. Billy Cole. And Billy Cole thinks, well, that's just college football nowadays, guys. That's just what it was. He wasn't winning, so no, it was stupid. Here was the reason why. First of all, you got a 3-3 record by that point. You're firing him, and I mean, what good is it going to do now to let him go now? I mean, he is your coach. He has won 10 games, how many years in a row there? And he all of a sudden has a couple of hiccups, and we're going to let him go. Reach the playoff semifinals and the year before, and we let him go just for losing a couple of games that he shouldn't have lost. I mean, the Oregon game was a toss-up anyway. It wasn't, I mean, I understand you can't win the big game, but have that discussion. Do it in the year, especially if you weren't going to make any kind of moves. You weren't going to make any kind of move, and it made no sense. It just made no sense. It's like wiping before you poop. But so if Terry Smith can motivate these kids to play in that game and participate in it and not opt out and quit on it, Penn State's going to kick the crap out of Clemson, because Clemson won't be able to stop a legitimate team with a legitimate rushing attack. Penn State's a good team. Penn State has good players. They have a good defense. They have a good core there. They fell on, and you saw it down the stretch. They played pretty well down the stretch of the season. So they'll kick the crap out of Clemson as long as if they have a bunch of opt-outs, then it may well go the other way. And, Dabo will win 8 games, and, all the deeble-dobblers will be deeble-dobbling around and looking at, ooh, well, we beat the Cougs down the stretch, and we beat Florida State, and we beat the Penn State. Oh, Lord, Dabo's he's going to beat Lane Kiffin 50-0 to start next season off, and yada, yada, yada. You know how it's going to go. They're just all, eternal hype. Just eternal hype there, and then just eternal disappointment every year. It's just the same old crappy cycle in Clemson every year. But at any rate, guys, I wanted to jump on here and talk a little bit of college football with you. Will be no Rob and Kel show tonight. Rob was doing an event there with his son, so he's not going to be able to be on the show this evening. If he was, it was going to be really late, and I just told him we would just go on ahead and go off with the show on Wednesday night, and we'll have a good one then, and we'll get into all this stuff at that point in time. And congratulations to Rob Sanders, Mountain Mama, and Scott Gentry, I believe, were the top 3 finishers in the 2025 edition of the Callaway's College Football Pick'em Challenge. Any rate, guys, I will see y'all later. I appreciate you. Peace. I'm out of here. Go Gamecocks. Woo!